Welcome to another interesting episode of Trash It. In the studio today, we've got my co-host Yori, and we've got Amaka. Amaka's been on the show before. We've got Talia and we've got Sosa. You should kind of already know most of the people on this panel. The topic we're going to be trashing today is about the sudden death, I would say, of a very prominent worship leader in Nigeria by the name of Mrs. Osinachi Wanchuku. Unfortunately, she died in the hands of her husband due to domestic violence on the 8th of April. Don't quote me on that, but sometime last week. And this came as a shock to everyone who heard the news, knowing the kind of person she was, knowing how she ministered and led a lot of people to Christ. Everybody was shocked about this story and what happened. Yori, let me come to you first. When you heard this news about this lady, yet another person dying due to domestic violence, I mean, we've talked about domestic violence a lot on this show, but we're not going to stop. We're going to continue doing it until there is a change. So Yori, let me come to you. How did you feel when you heard this news?
You know, the most annoying bit of it was that we didn't actually, when the news broke, they said she had died of throat cancer. Mm-hmm. That was the news that broke. And a lot of people were like, throat cancer. No, nobody mentioned this within Christendom, so to say, as in the news would have broke at some point where people would have called for prayers, you know, as it will be now when ministers are going through health challenges. And it was until later, I think it was Frank Edwards, that now kind of put a story out and said, no, she didn't die of throat cancer. It was domestic violence. And it kind of saddens me that as popular as this woman is, as loved as she was, she couldn't summon the courage to share this news with people that matter. And I say people that matter because unfortunately, she appears to be a woman that believes in authority so much So she didn't, you would think, why does she need to report to her pastor? But that is kind of the life that she lived. She's that kind of person that is under authority of a pastor, a minister or something. The people that had, let's say, the powers to be in her life were not aware of this, that they could even empower her to live. And another thing that hurt me the most is that she allowed, with a lack of better word, a worthless human being to take away her life, to take away her gift. She gave someone else the power to rule over her life. Do you see how lonely she must have felt? Someone that ministered to scores of people. And when we say scores, we're talking about millions of people. And she was so lonely that she couldn't find succor within the people that she actually ministered to, because she was a lead choir for Dynamis International Church. Mm-hmm. So she couldn't speak to the pastor's wife. She couldn't speak to the minister's wife. There was nobody in the church that she felt close enough to relieve her burden to. I understand we don't talk about therapy a lot, especially among Christians. We believe with God through Christ, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. That is the normal language people sing in church. So you can see, for a worship minister, she couldn't even use that line to pick herself up and look for someone that could just literally, if they are taking the news and fought for this woman, because she's a woman that couldn't fight for herself. She needed people to fight for her. And that is the problem. I wouldn't say problem. That is the issue with victims. They don't usually lack the strength to fight for themselves. So sometimes they would rely on someone and I wish she had just one person. She needed just one person that was strong enough. And I know I've not been through domestic violence, and my heart goes out to a lot of victims. It must have, I don't know how what strength, what she needs or what she needed to make her see herself out. I know the instance in which apparently she has said, if not for the church, if not what the church would say, she would leave this marriage. Wow. So has it come to that we believe in what the church said? Unfortunately, the church in question didn't actually know what was going on. So it's like a catch-22. We've seen instances where people have remained in situations like this because God said, the church said, the Christian community said, thou shalt not leave your husband, thou shalt not commit adultery. Single divorcees or single moms are not considered as human beings when it comes to hierarchy of women. If you are married, if you're not married, you're not somebody. So don't die in marriages. Like, marriage is not the all, it's not the all of it. We've come to that place where even in churches, we're not saying it's not the end of it. You don't have to stay married to stay alive.
Yeah, that's right. I think the key word is you don't have to be married. Because people are taking this marriage thing too far. Marriage is a beautiful thing only if you're with the right person. Amaka, let me come to you. Being someone who is very passionate about her religion, and what do you think Minister Osinachi was going through when it comes to her religion and what she was going through in her marriage? Part of her wants to leave, but then another part of her thinks, if I leave, what are people going to say? I am a worship leader. I take people to Christ. Now I need to lead by example. I can't be seen to have left my marriage. This is my cross. I must bear it. Maybe one day this too shall pass. What do you think was going through her mind when she was enduring all of this?
Yeah, thank you, Celia. So, when I heard this story, the first thing that came to my mind was, wow. There's a popular quote that I heard sometime that says that wrong relationships, wrong marriages have ruined many great destinies. Yeah. And then it just reminded me that when there's a calling on your life, such, for someone like her that's got such a big calling on her life, you can't just marry anybody. So the first thing that came to my mind was the foundation of the marriage was faulty in the first place, right? And then, she also had this, problem that many Christians have, unfortunately, about religious mindsets. It's true that God says, the Bible says that I hate divorce, says the Lord. God hates divorce, but God also loves you.
Is there any part in because I'm thinking that the word divorce, it was not That word, was that word there when Jesus lived? Was it there?
Hold on. Okay, hold on. I'm going somewhere.
Okay, because I'm just wondering if there is actually a place in the Bible that says, I hate.
I get what you mean. Yeah. So God says that he hates divorce. Fine. But when that statement was made in the Bible, it was made what God had in mind when he made that statement was that he expects you to marry right, to choose right according to his will. Okay. So when people like her get it wrong in marriage, because obviously she married the devil. She definitely married the devil. She didn't even marry the devil's child. She married the devil. And then because of this religious mindset that people are always saying that divorce is a sin and all that, it has kept so many people bound in marriages that they didn't even have, she didn't have any business being in that marriage in the first place. Okay. And then the Bible also says that wisdom is profitable to direct, because some people think that with this religious mindset that God says he doesn't like divorce and all that, it also doesn't mean that when you're in a wrong marriage, such as she found herself in, it doesn't mean that you cannot flee, especially when it's domestic violence. It's okay to divorce, because this conversation is going on around now and so many people are being liberated and delivered that it's okay to divorce when you find yourself in a marriage that's bringing you more pain than joy, bringing you more sorrow than harm, because marriage is a blessing. And you can imagine that the blessing of God makes rich. It adds no sorrow and no painful toil. And this woman lived in sorrow. She lived in perpetual sorrow. I watched a video, an interview that BBC Igbo News, they interviewed her sister and her one of her sisters, then her twin sister, and then her mom. It was just so heartbreaking. They knew about this domestic violence, but they didn't know the extent. And then they said that each time they tried to, they've always tried to tell her to come out of it and all that. But because she always said to them, that she would kneel down. And that's the same thing that her pastor said, because pastor has come out now to say, what he knew about her marriage. She would tell people, she would go on her knees and tell them to pray that he's going to change. But the problem is, you cannot change a wrong person to be a right person. Yeah. And what she didn't know was that it's okay to get it wrong, and it's okay to get redirection from God, because you cannot tell me that if she sought direction from God, that God will tell her to stay in that marriage and be suffering in that marriage. No. So it's part of so many conversations that it's okay to leave your marriage as a Christian. And people are saying, what will people say? What will the church say? And that is a lie from the pit of hell, because there are so many music ministers in Nigeria particularly that have gone through divorce and they've remarried and they're thriving in ministry. I don't know if you guys know Nikki Layoye.
Yeah.
She was divorced some years ago and now she just remarried. She remarried like last month.
Yeah.
And she's been thriving in ministry. She's been invited so many times in UK to minister and all that. So when people are saying, what will the church say? That is a lie from the pit of hell, because people will always talk when you divorce. Yeah, as long as you hear from God, that's fine. Because at some point in your life, when you have a calling on your life, you have to decide whether you want to please man or to please God. Because if you heard from God, if you heard from God, then you don't have to worry about what anybody said, because the church will talk. Yes, they will talk, but then again, it's gonna die down after a few months.
But do you think she didn't hear from God, or she hadn't heard from God, or she could not hear from God? Because this thing was was happening for a very long time.
Yes.
And for someone like her who ministers, and I mean, when she sings, when you're in the auditorium, when she performs, you think God, you believe that God is there. So now how people would argue or find it difficult to believe that she didn't hear from God. Or maybe I don't know.
Yeah, so you see, this is where self-will comes in, because self-will is so strong. Because for her, like I said, religious mindset is different from having a relationship with God. So for someone as anointed as her, she was already tied to this religious mindset, unfortunately, that limited God from even helping her. So she was the one that hindered herself from being helped by pleading with people not to tell her pastor. And at the end of the day, I don't even think that telling her pastor was going to make any much difference, because some people, you can get them out or talk them out of such relationships. You can even separate them, and they find themselves running back to the perpetrator. There are so many instances of where even my my close relative, my auntie, yeah, years ago, she was unfortunately a victim of domestic violence, and she was an ordained minister. She was going into her late 40s, and then she was desperate, and then she married this guy. She married the devil. The guy was like, physically abusing her and all that, and eventually she died. But guess what? Twice they say that elders from the village sent people. She had like so many stepbrothers. She was living in Lagos at the time. Twice they went to physically remove her from there, but she pleaded with them, you know, she pleaded with them that she was going to stay with him and that he was going to change. So it's still that the religious mindset. A lot of Christians have this religious mindset that limits God. God cannot override someone's self-will. God would want you to use your free will to choose his will. So self-will is so dangerous when it comes to issues like this.
Okay, thank you very much, Amaka, for that. Talia, let me come to you. You've heard everything Yori and Amaka has said. And I mean, Yori said you don't have to be married at the end of her talk. Marriage is not by force, especially when you find yourself in the wrong marriage. And you've heard what Amaka has said, coming from the religious point of view. Self-will, very difficult, because sometimes you don't even know what you're hearing anymore. And sometimes I just feel like, because there was something you said, Amaka, when you said there was a part of the Bible verse that you quoted. God gives you something and he doesn't add sorrow. Right? But at the same time, which is very correct. And then at the same time, people also say God does not like divorce. And what is the reason why people usually want to divorce? Sometimes some women don't even want to divorce because the man is cheating. It's because the man is becoming violent, abusing them physically, emotionally, and even financially. That's when they start feeling, I cannot continue to live like this. I want to remove myself from the situation. But then they don't, because they feel the Bible does not like divorce. But at the same time, you've also forgotten that the Bible also says that when God gives you something, he adds no sorrow. Now, the situation you find yourself is a sorrowful one. So why can't you then use the part of the Bible that says when God gives you something, he adds no sorrow? But rather, people would cling to the part that says, I don't like divorce. Do you not think this is because we want to remain married and people do not want to be seen as single or like as someone that has failed in a marriage? Sally, let me come to you with that. Why do you think people will still want to remain in a marriage, even though the Bible says God is against divorce? But the same Bible says God gives you a gift, he adds no sorrow, and marriage is a gift from God. Why do you think people still remain in that and they cannot use that part of the Bible to help their situation?
Amaka said it all. I love when she said self-will. It all boils down to self-will. A lot of these women, what I find is that they love being married. And I think people mistake being married for me, marriage it goes beyond, the contract. For me, it's a friendship. I can't fathom being in a relationship or in a marriage where I'm not friends with that person, where I'm scared. I think people misquote or misinterpret what marriage actually is. Marriage is a long time friendship. For me, my husband is my everlasting friend. So how can I continue to be in a marriage when I'm scared of that friend, or I don't feel like talking to that friend, or I walk into the room and it's, oh God, what's going to happen next? It's the same. It's the self-will. People need to know what they want and what they deserve. If you feel that, you deserve to be beaten, or, you can't do without that situation, then
that person,
you will end up being in a shit show like this. It really saddened me when I heard the situation. I really couldn't understand how somebody who worships God, who, like you said, Celia, who brings you to Christ through her words. I don't understand Igbo, but every time I heard that song, Ekweme, just the part that she sings, I don't understand a word she's saying, but I can feel the intensity of the worship. So how then does somebody like that not hear when God is saying this situation is not right for you? Because God has used so many people to tell her that this situation is not right. He used her mother, he used her sister, and every other people who knew about the relationship. So how then did she not hear? It's the self-will, because sometimes we are so stubborn to what we want, we don't listen to that quiet voice when God is saying, actually, this is not right.
Thank you, Talia. Let me come to you, Sosa. You've heard everything everybody has said, and I'm wondering, because we're saying that, you know, she was praying, and Amaka, you said that whenever her parents will come and try to talk to her, whatever family, she would say she would kneel down and pray, or something, or they should kneel down and pray. I mean, I just feel sometimes prayer, I just feel sometimes we pray for things that we should not even be praying for.
Yes.
And
yes.
the way I see it is like, you need tomato to cook stew, but you're there praying. You don't have in your fridge, but you're praying for God to bring. God is not going to magically bring tomato. Just go out and get some tomato, right? So for me, I'm thinking, she was in this relationship, right? The man beat her the first day. I mean, at what point did this even start? Forget about, I mean, because you said, Amaka, that she, with someone like her, she shouldn't even be in this kind of marriage. So was she always a worship leader? Was she already a worship leader before she met her husband and got married? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. So, okay. You are,
okay,
sorry.
That question to me. Sorry.
Okay, go on, sir.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, ladies. I've listened to what everyone said, and everybody is right in our opinion. But if you look at the foundation of this whole thing, yeah, it's a psychological thing. A lot of times, people marry and they seek validation from their husband by every means. That the man has brainwashed. They will brainwash you in a situation that you would think like, this man has nothing but your progress. This man has nothing but the welfare of you and the family and him. Even your own family, their thoughts and their love or whatever it is doesn't mean anything to you. Just if one single validation from that man is much more than 1,000 people on your side, you know, it's brainwashed. It's just because, and sometimes, you know, that's why I say it's always better that we address it from the grassroots. From when you have a girl child, you know, that self-reliance, telling the child that, giving that, you know, like you said, self-will, you know, allowing that child to understand that, you know, you put yourself first in a way that if something doesn't please you, you know, no matter who that person is, no matter how important that person is in your life, choosing yourself first is always very important, you know. So that's it, you know. Some people they were just brought up in a way that some families, they bring their child up to get married. That's basically what they do with their daughter. You do want to marry a man that would you serve, and that's it. That's what they and when they get married, that's it. They've already achieved what their parents have asked them. Now, I need to make sure that my marriage works. I need to make sure that this man is the person that I was brought up to serve. That is the mentality that they brought from their family. And this person, you know, there's nothing like marry right, marry wrong. We are just lucky. Sometimes we find people where you meet people and this person that you tend to love turn out to be a reasonable person and understand, you know, the dynamics of marriage, and they're a nice human being. That's the most important thing. Just be a nice human being first, you know. And sometimes you marry people, yeah, you might be married right. She fell in love, and this guy probably wasn't that nasty from the beginning. It might just be from shouting, frowning, hitting the wall, and then it escalates from one to the other. I'm not sure that nobody goes to a man's house after the first 6 months and the man is beating you. You still want to put your head down, marry for a long time. And then secondly, look at the wider picture. As a woman, you have a home. This is your future. This is your desire. You have your children growing up. You come home every day looking at your home. We are all women here, and we have our family. Imagine pulling that family away from you under the rug, you know, and you are the person that is responsible to pull that plug. And then you wake up tomorrow and this life that you have known all your life is no longer existing. It takes a strong will to say, you know what, I'm making this thing up. I'm giving up everything that I ever desired in my life, because the person that have given me this life is not the person I do not want to be with. It's a big decision. So empowerment, lack of judgment. I know that this lady probably spoke to people, and I can understand how she's gone back to beg them, because she would think like, okay, what if people know? And this man comes home, because she doesn't want people to say, oh, go home and fight for yourself. She needs someone that will say, you know what, I'm going to set you up with a business. I'm going to pull you out of that place, put you in a home where your family, your children will be comfortable first. No, we don't have any organization that does that for you. You know, so even if you go and speak up and they come home, don't worry, talk to the man will say, I will change. Then the person leaves. You are going to live with that man. The man will come to talk to monster in another minute. So those are all those things that she has thought about, is like, what kind of help am I going to seek? How sustainable is this help? How much help do I really need? Who is going to provide this help that I really need to give me another life that will make me want to give up this life? And if that help is not there available, it's either going to break her more, or she just keep her mouth shut. And then she chooses to keep her mouth shut, because if she seeks this help that is not there to help her 100%, it's still going to destroy her. Because when this man realizes that she's going out and speaking to people, that's it. An abuser will be upset. If you even have a close friend that empowers you, if you have a friend that makes you smile at all, they get upset because they want, oh, okay, this person, because they are looking for ways. They don't just start beating you. They first of all break you psychologically, emotionally. They make sure that you have no strength within yourself.
We're going to come into that aspect of this, right? We're going to come into that. Thank you very much for that, because what you're saying there, that is the nitty-gritty. Do you understand, of this kind of behavior, of this kind of situation? Is very difficult. Validation, because you are married, he's your king and you want to serve him, you're his queen. And unfortunately, whilst you're trying in every way possible to be his queen, you forget how to be a queen and become a slave to the man, and you become his slave, and then you become happy, and it's like you are happy that the man has found you worthy. You know, some of the things this woman went through, for example, when she books a show, right? When they call her to book a show, is the man that they contact. So any money that is paid for the show goes into the man's account. Again, talking about financial abuse. This is it, because then she has no access to money. So he has cut that off. So all he does is tells her where the venue is, and she goes there to perform. And if she stays too long, he's on the phone to her saying, how long is the performance? What are you still doing there? Right? Also, apparently she was given 2 cars by people that really appreciated the work that she does. And this woman can't even get into one to drive, because the man has taken it away from her. Apparently, her son also said sometimes after the evening service, when they're going home, she will get in the car from church. When they get halfway, the man will open the door and tell her to come out and find her way home. Apparently, also, something I also read was there was a day they were going to the village for a function, and the man was speeding. And she told the man to please, reduce the speed. And the man gave her a slap. So all these little things that were happening, and apparently there was also a gatesman that always hears the man beat her, and a lot of things were happening. I cannot. And this woman, when she comes on stage and she's singing, and we're here thinking that she's being moved by the Holy Spirit. But in my head now, when I'm thinking about it, yes, she may have been moved by the Holy Spirit, but is there also a possibility that she's singing and crying
for help? Yeah,
for help, because she knows that once she drops, it's only when she's on the stage that she gets that respect. Yeah. But once she drops that mic and goes to backstage, her husband is already giving her eye and sending her into the car, and for them to. So again, it's like when she gets off the stage, the whole cycle starts again. How did we miss this? I know she told people not to tell people. How did we miss it? How did the church miss it? Yori, let me come to you. Do you think the church failed in this regard? Because it took the pastor a while to come out and make a statement.
She called me daily, and literally daily, and prayed with her. She reported progress. The point came where she needed no oxygen anymore, according to what she said to me one night, and that they checked her oxygen perfusion, and it was 100%. And we were very, very excited at that progress. That was the point it was before we went over to the crusade in Cameroon. It was in Cameroon the second night that I got to know of the unfortunate incidents of her passing. Now, if there was domestic violence that led to or coincided with those symptoms that she came with 2.5 months to 3 months ago, there is no way I would know. And if there had been perennial domestic violence, there was no way I would have known. The things we're hearing after her passing were things that were very, very strange to my hearing. Then I began to ask questions. First, I asked the twin sister, are you aware that your sister, were you aware that your sister passed through all these things? She said, yes, she knew some of them, but that the majority of them, she was hearing also from those she confided in. I asked her, I said, if you knew, why didn't you let us know? And the twin sister said, she always begged her, please don't let the church know, don't tell the pastor, please, the man will change, please, just pray for us, the man will change. And that continued to happen. I asked the first son yesterday, I said, was this real? And the son told other stories. And I said, so why didn't you tell me? Because typically they will run to me after service and I'll pray for them, lay hands on them. Why didn't you tell me about what was going on in the home? The young man said, they couldn't tell me because the father would always ask them after they left me and said, what did you tell the pastor? Did you tell him anything? And so on and so forth. Further, other members in the choir who were privy to this, some of the things that were going on, I asked one of them when we paid the visit to the house of the deceased yesterday, what happened? Why were we not aware of all these things? The same story, that she would always go on her knees and ask them, please, don't, just pray, don't. We're trusting God for him to change. The last one that taught me so much was the music producer who came to see me in the office 2 days ago to tell me his own experience, how he witnessed that the man the wife in his music studio. And I said to him, you saw a man, a woman in your presence, and you left the man alone, and you are a man yourself. And he said before he could respond to the man, the woman again in tears on her knees begged him not to do anything, to leave him alone, and not even to do anything at all, and so on and so forth. So we have had these stories, and this is all the things that we got to know after she had passed. As a person and as a church, everyone who knows us know that we have 0-degree tolerance for domestic and wife battery of any sort. If you ever listen to any of our relationship messages, there is a principle, a policy, and a rule we have. And it is better to be alive without a marriage than to die because of marriage. We've said that over and over and over. I am sure that some of us would have listened to the clips of those messages.
Do you think the church failed her?
Thank you, Celia. The thing about it is that you touched on something, Minister Osinachi. Her music was her circle. So that was the only place where she felt safe. So she was releasing to us. And the thing about it, I won't just say the ministers, we all missed it because we were looking at perfection. She symbolizes perfection. So how on earth would you think a woman so gifted? But when I was preparing for this, if there's anything I always pray for is the spirit of discernment. And part of the 7 qualities of the spirit of discernment, or the characteristics, it talks about openness, generosity, a habit of prayerful reflection, and having one's priority right and straight, and not confusing an end with a means. This woman confused her marriage as the ultimate. He didn't just start abusing her. It just didn't start today. He never respected her. And she didn't think she was worthy of that respect. That's just it. So I wouldn't say the church missed it. Look, we can all put powders on. It's why I tell you that you know.
Yeah.
If you hear those buzz on our door and I open the door and I be like, hi, how are you? Who are you to tell me that you heard that someone was beating me? Do you get what I'm saying? So she was able to put a veil. She wanted respect for a man that didn't deserve respect. So even when there was a WhatsApp chat where I saw, she said, oh, I don't want people to label him as a bad man. Well, was as bad as he will get. So she's protecting someone that failed to protect her.
Protect her,
And
right?
this man only saw her as a meal ticket. From what I understood, he has another wife somewhere.
Yeah.
So he only wanted her because of what she was bringing to the table, the gift. And what really pained me the most, apart from her losing her life, is the 4 children that are now damaged as a result of this. Because I understand the boys used to help their dad beat their mom on his request. So he will beat her up and then tell the boys to come beat her. So these boys, unless someone work with them, they might end up being abusers themselves, which is not their fault. They witness it. So sometimes you think, okay, I can use someone that witnessed your mom being abused. You can only be what you've been formed unless there's a rebut or a reform. So to answer your question, we all miss this because Minister Osinachi did not want us to see anything. She shielded her husband. She protected her home. Sosa mentioned something. She felt her home is the ultimate goal. She wanted to be married. Marriage was all that mattered to her. And she forgot something. In heaven, there's no marriage. All this, I love you, Mr. and Mrs. Whatever, it all ends here. In heaven, there's no marriage. So I don't see why she could not. And I don't want to blame her. I'm not victim blaming her. I just wish there was more we could have done. There was more the church. There was just one person that was literally, what we needed to do is just sound the alarm that this man was abusing her. And then let all the blogs take it. That was all we needed. There's sometimes when we say social media is a necessary evil. You want to tell me that if this had leaked on one social media blog, this might be the passport for her to then leave, because what we are now seeing is a cascading effect of what has happened. You are not seeing people coming on social media and say, oh, this person beats me, they beat me at home. So it's unfortunate that she's an example, a dead example.
Yeah.
A dead example. And you can't help yourself, women watching this. Look, nobody mentions any divorcee by their name. If they say woman, all women will stand. Nobody asks if you're single. No, they don't know. It doesn't, I hate to say it does not matter anymore. It's a good thing to be in marriage, a good marriage, a sustainable marriage, a nurturing marriage, a relationship that nurtures you as an individual, not as a married individual. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's okay to not be married. Live your life so that you don't die. It's emotional. I'm emotional. I can't even say, and I don't even know her on a personal level.
Yeah.
Now,
let me ask this question. Do you guys think the society is to blame for this? Because given the kind of person that she was a celebrity, if you like. She was, even though she does not live that kind of lifestyle, yeah? But she was a celebrity. I mean, look at all these celebrities now. Some of them, like Blessing in Kechi, look how small thing that happened. So that one, I don't know. Let me not just talk. But my question is, do you think the society is to blame as to why this woman continued to endure this ordeal of a marriage? Because number one, she told a few people that were close to her. Her mom knew, her sister knew, right? But then she told them not to tell anybody. Okay. So now, why did she say don't tell anybody? Because number one, she's afraid that people are going to judge her. Number two, whenever there's an issue with a marriage that doesn't work, the women are always the ones to blame, because it's you that couldn't hold your home. It's you that couldn't cook for your husband. It's you that didn't give your husband sex 5 times a day. It's you. It's always the woman, never anything to do with the man. And also, given the kind of person she is in the community, she's a Christian, she's a worship leader. Again, she did not want that kind of reputation for her and her family. So do you think the society is to blame? Because sometimes when you tell people your problem, instead of them to help you, they go and start gossiping about it. They go and start telling other people, and before you know it, the news will spread. It might spread to the ears of the person that would help. But again, what do you think people would say? Now everybody's coming out, oh, she should have said, we would have helped her. But if she had said, would you people have actually helped? Or would you have just ridiculed her? Amaka, let me come to you then, so you can answer after Amaka.
Okay. So it's not just about her being helped. It's about her deciding to take the help, right? Because I would say those people close to her, her her mom, her siblings, one of the music ministers that she performed the song with, and then even her music producer. They were all aware, right? And then her twin sister said on several occasions she went to Abuja at the Dunamis International for one of their conventions, some of their conventions, and then the guy did not even let her see Osinachi, her sister, her twin sister, on several occasions, and she was stranded. Some of those music ministers that were her friends were helping the twin sister. And I'm thinking, this man cut this girl away from her family. She had 4 children, and you know how it is in Igbo tradition. I think that even in every tradition in Nigeria, that when you have a child, your mom comes for Omungo. Do you know she had 4 children? This man did not let her mom come to visit.
Wow.
He cut her off.
Had all those children.
Yes, he cut her. Yeah, he cut her off from her entire family. So that was enough cause for alarm. And I'm thinking, one of those people, the music ministers, people in the choir that knew, why didn't one of them tell the pastor what was happening?
So are you saying in all of this, the pastor didn't know at all?
Because I don't see a reason why he would lie about it. Yeah, because he can always say he knew about it, but she refused to leave. But he said he didn't know about it, and I believe that even before he said it, right? And I'm thinking, even if the pastor helped, right, she was bound to still go back to this man. Possibly, So at the end of the day, I believe that nobody is to blame. It was her choice. And I'm saying that because years ago, I was in a relationship many years ago, right? And then the way the guy was talking to me, I used to tell my friends, this guy will beat me one day because of the way he was talking. When somebody's upset, you can tell that they have the tendencies. So most of the time, these guys have the tendencies, right? You could see the red flags. But because you feel like, you have to marry at a certain age, you rush into that marriage, regardless, thinking that person would change. And then one day, what happened? This guy beat me. And the way he was beating me, he was beating me. And then what came to my mind was, he was beating me as if I could do nothing.
Wow.
And then I said, I'm going to call the police. And I dialed the emergency button, and then he left me. But you know how this country is. Once you dial, right, it just goes through. Whether you tap it or not, once you touch it, it just goes through. Next thing I knew, 2 police officers came, but he knew he already ran away. And then obviously before then, because of the way he used to behave, the tendencies that I saw, I knew that I wasn't going to marry this person. It was a no-no for me. And then when he did it, and I like telling people when I tell the story that it was just that once, and I ran away and I never looked back, right? So at the end of the day, people see these tendencies. You can't tell me that the way, because there's this girl on Instagram. I don't know if you saw that girl that she canceled her wedding, her upcoming wedding.
I saw it.
She canceled her wedding.
I'm proud of her.
And so this situation is empowering so many people to say no.
So why did she cancel the wedding? I don't think I saw that.
No, because she said the guy was already abusing her. So they've been engaged for a year. They did like the bride price, that like the initial introduction. And then they said their traditional wedding, and then the white wedding to be this coming Saturday. But because of this situation, she chose She chose herself. So it's all about. So this guy took.
So are you saying because of this Osinachi's incident, she chose?
Yeah, that's why.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's empowering so many people. And then you see, this guy took away her entire identity, her self-worth. And I'm not surprised to hear that this guy is promiscuous, like he has somebody else somewhere. Because obviously, the other lady said, sorry, what's
Talia.
Talia said that marriage is about marrying your friend, but clearly she married her enemy. The enemy, the Bible says the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And that's what this guy did over time. He stole her entire self-worth, her identity. He stole her entire family. He cut her off from everybody that was supposed to help her. He cut her off from her finances. He was controlling her finances. And there's one thing I noticed that's consistent with most, not all of these people, victims of domestic violence. The guy controls their finances. They are the breadwinners. This girl was the breadwinner. I saw on Instagram again about one lady that says she left her marriage years ago and that she was the sole breadwinner and that the guy was controlling her finance. Okay, no, she didn't say the guy was controlling her finance, but she said she was the sole breadwinner. But she did everything that she could do to please this guy. And yet the guy was mean and wicked to her and horrible to her. And then she left the marriage years ago. So there's one thing that's consistent. These people are begging for love, begging to be loved by the same enemy. That the same enemy that hits them. For me, this minister Osinachi, her husband hated her. And then how do you stay in a marriage, lying in the same bed with somebody that you can't even predict what they could do, right? So because this domestic violence thing is a spirit that possesses this people. Because when that guy beat me that once, right? I looked at his eyes and I'm like, this person, this is no longer this person. There is something that has possessed this person. And thankfully, thank God that I had common sense. There was something that possessed him. So when they start beating these women, right, they're no longer themselves. You know how people with mental health would say things like, oh, they had a voice telling them to do whatever. So when they start beating, they're no longer themselves. They could do anything. That's why this guy had the nerve to stomp on her chest. This girl died of pain, chest pain, or whatever stuff that was wrong with her chest. Yeah? Because he was stomping on her chest. Because his mission, like I said, there is, for someone that has a calling on her life, when you have a calling on your life, you can't just marry anybody. And then when you get it wrong, it's okay to go back to God and get wisdom to leave the marriage. But she wanted to stay because she thought divorce was a sin.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just so unfortunate that she married her enemy.
Thank you. Thank you, Amaka. So let me come to you with that question. Do you think that the society failed her? Do you think one of the because I mean, especially because she had such a large audience where she goes and ministers to. Maybe one day she could have just picked up the phone after her ministration or before her ministration. She would just tell them what is going on in her house and tell them she does not want to go back home. Please help me. Couldn't she have done something like that? Yeah. Anyway, so let me come to you. What do you think? Do you think the society was the reason why she couldn't come out because she felt ashamed?
Yeah, I think that, like I said before, is a whole lot of stuff that's going in within her, psychological thing, mental thing that was happening within her. She needed help, and she needed that same help, and she was afraid that that help was going to destroy her. So I think that's what we do as a society is to understand that even if these people, you know, if she actually told somebody from the choir stand, and the said, and she went and begged and said, oh, don't tell the pastor and all that. So that's where the mistake comes from. Just like we are all using this platform to speak now. What everybody can do is to keep hammering it, because like I said, this is like a cancer that's eating within us now. You know, to say that this person that is saying that, even if you say, oh, don't go and say, don't go and tell, you know, as your responsibility, if somebody comes to you and say, or you suspect that a friend or a sister or anybody that you know is being abusive, we just don't listen. We have to do something, because sometimes they're afraid to actually ask for that help. They need someone to actually just take their hand, because the person you are seeing there, she's not a human being. Within herself, she doesn't have the capability to even make any good choice for herself anymore, because she doesn't think that she deserves anything apart from what this person is giving to her. You know, psychologically, she doesn't have any self-confidence. She just feels like this is the life that she has come to live.
Yes.
I remember there was someone that was saying to a lady, so this lady said she kept praying that, oh Lord, restore peace in my home, restore peace in my home. My husband is the king, put the king heart, you know. It was a church member that heard her praying that. And she said, can I just say that it's good to restore peace. Why don't you pray that God should give you the peace, the life that you deserve? Our style of prayers are really, really important. The way you ask God for something, you know, I know that, you know, the things that are earthly, you know, is for our decisions to make, not heavenly things. These are the power that God has given to us, you know, and the wisdom that God has given to us. They are available for us to tap into that, to make decisions that are healthy. God is not going to come and pick you up from an abusive marriage. But because you have been psychologically damaged, what we need as a church, because we're all talking about it from the religious, there are people that are Christians that still suffer this. You know, it's not a matter of any church. It's just a matter of you have a human being that have gradually chopped off somebody's confidence and made them feel like you cannot have another life aside me. And they have believed that over time. Now, if you say go and leave, you just don't tell the person leave the marriage. Just say, oh, you have the courage. No, you actually have to raise up an army, hold the woman's hand, and go there and pull that one out. As a parent, as a friend, we just don't listen alone and say, okay, she said, I'm not taking anybody, because you don't know the limit that you will get to. Somebody that was chatting at you today might raise up something. Somebody that's even hitting the wall, it might be on your face tomorrow. You know, it's for us to see this side. We just don't just say, okay, because the victim said we shouldn't say, because they are not even speaking from their own will. You know, so we need to move fast. As soon as we know, even if they say they don't say, we need to move. It's better to say to get a fake alarm and say, okay, no, oh, it was a mistake, and come back home and apologize, than to say, oh, I don't know if it's true. And then at the end of the day, a human being, that is supposed to have their whole life entirely. And it's just not the woman dying. It's not just the woman dying. This death of this woman has touched a lot of people. I'm telling you, I get emotional when I'm talking about it, because when I watch the video, I'm crying. It dragged me back to the pits where I'm coming from. He has told so many to look at the impact it's had all over Nigeria, all over the world. My friends that are Ghanaians, they are all calling me and they are all crying. The children they need psychological help. Even the church members, people that have seen the tragic death of this woman, just because she's this popular figure and because she's a singer. So it's like, it has spread like wildfire. So at the end of the day, if we're helping, we're not just helping a victim, we're helping a generation. We're helping the impact of one single action that you have done. Because the children, only God knows, it can ask the impact that it's going to have on the children. So I think that, like what I said, I think that we as a society, we have failed her. The church have failed her, because we just say, oh, she spoke to people, and then she came back to beg, don't tell anybody, and they kept quiet. You shouldn't keep quiet in something like that.
Yes.
You say, oh, even if I say, okay, don't tell anybody. How many the pastor? No, telling the pastor is not even enough. Go to the authority, blow the trap heads, go to social media, go to Instablog and tell them, like, this woman,
this lover.
Yeah. So
even if it's anonymously.
Yeah. Even if she doesn't have to speak to you anymore, even if you say you are the evil that destroyed her home, I will go to bed sleeping.
But okay. Esesa, with you saying this now, let me throw this question out to everybody. So if a friend comes and tells you, let's assume before this incident of this this lady, if this minister, if your friend came and told you that her husband is, maltreating her, beating her, abusing her, all forms of abuse, you name it, and she just confided in you as a friend and told you not to tell anybody, what would you do? Yori, let me come to you first. What would you do?
The thing about it is, if anybody knows me very well, my stance about marriage is that you don't have to stay married. So for you to have even told me you need help, and I'm going to give you that help. Okay. First thing foremost, we're in a society that enables. So there's shelters, there's support that implement domestic violence support facilities that are available.
But she has told you she does not want you to tell anybody.
Well, then you can't tell me that. That is just the thing. I would let you know. You have told me for a reason. And if we're friends, you would have known my stand when it comes to DV, when it comes to marriage. Look, I'm very fortunate, and I say this, and I don't take it lightly. I grew up with parents that have enabled their daughters to say, Omowa, if it's not working, this house
big enough.
Is big enough. You and whoever you have born there, come back. So, like, when I got married, when they were giving all these, we call it eriyawo, which is the stuff that comes for your bride price and anything, my parents returned the bride price and told them explicitly, if our child offends your son, you do not have the right to discipline her. Bring that back home. We will discipline our own child. So that way, not to mess with me. Because I've got backup. So if you're telling me that you're being abused, my stand. I will willingly support you to leave that place. And if you don't want to, I will sound the alarm. We might see on the street and you won't talk to me, but I'll make sure that those that need to know, especially those that can enable you, not those that will, because I understand women, we don't want our stories out there. But I have sensible friends that I know that I can call upon and be like, this person is going through this. This is what she shared, and she said she doesn't want to. But I've told her, I will tell you. Let's move, let's plan. If it's money, if it's facility, if it's getting you out of that place, logistics. Because I know these things moving people out, it's not easy. You're just knocking someone out of their
Especially when there are children involved as well.
Yeah, exactly. So there are plans that need to be in place. Do you have information? Have you reported? Is this catalog that you taking picture? The bit you take picture. Because the thing about evidence, we need to. So I will support you. My younger sister is a lawyer. I will make sure that we write as much bells and whistles. And if you don't want any help, I will still say my own piece to people that need to hear. Should in case something happens to you in future, we'll know who to hold accountable.
Just going back to when I was asking if the society has a hand in this, Because I remember Hillary Clinton. You remember when her husband, Monica Lewinsky, was giving it to him under the table, right? And she stayed with him. A lot of Republicans were bashing her and dissing her for staying with a man that did that to her and all of that. What kind of message are you putting out there? But then at the same time, if a man does something to the wife that is enough for the woman to leave, and the woman remains there and she doesn't leave, or sorry, the woman leaves, again, they will say, oh, look at her, because your eyes is already out there. You were already thinking and just waiting for anything to happen, and you didn't even want to stay to try and make it work. So how do we balance this? Because it's almost as if you run, you are dead. If you don't run, you are dead. So what can a woman do in a situation like this?
You know, the thing with Hillary Clinton, and I hate to say this, she might not be the good example. She had a long-term vision. I'm going to be a senator. It's true. That's why sometimes, no, and I respect women like that. You mess me up, I'll use you to ride my wheels. Do you know what I'm saying? She knew what she wanted to be. She wanted to be the president of America. And she knew that nobody was going to finna vote for a divorcee, was not going to vote for someone that didn't have a family. So she had a long-term plan. That, Bill, you messed up. So you see this, your mess up. I will use it to ride and climb the political pedestal that I can get to. And that woman went beyond and above. So she's calculated like that. At the end of the day, I think she kind of flipped the script on Bill.
Yeah, apart from that, I think when an alarm is raised like that, you know, nobody knows when the way situation of that Bill Clinton, like you said about Bill Clinton, you know, when the alarm was raised and he saw the outrage of his action, yeah, I think that it will really, I'm telling you, he will have to fix his head.
He did.
If this Osinachi woman, if he was blown out of proportion, everybody knew about this man was an abusive person. Even if she chose to stay there, I'm sure the man would now be scared. Will know that, oh, okay, now I'm being watched, you know? So no matter what, once you say that, you know, an abuser, let me tell you something, they are the weakest people ever. They have issues to deal with themselves, you know? They just want power, they want control, and they're scared. The reason why they try to not to empower this person is like, I don't want anybody to know that this is happening. The moment they are revealed, and the moment you reveal them outside, that's it. You've taken the power away from them. You've taken everything. I'm sure this lady, if maybe people had an idea of it was out there the way it is when she was alive, this man is either going to say, I'm not going to marry to you anymore because I cannot be beating you. People knows now. If anything, if he kicks a stone outside, people will say, oh, he's your husband now. Or if she sings and her voice doesn't sing well, they'll say, the husband beats you. Yeah. That would give him a bit of caution. So maybe that was what Hillary Clinton got to and said that, oh, now everybody's calling you now that you're an evil person. I will worship you. Nobody knows what they went within their home there. And Hillary said, okay, he's a changed man because he's scared. He knows what happened, what he's done. He has to fix it for the rest of his life. Yeah. And they started fixing it, which is fine.
He did. Fixing it. Let me because Talia made a comment and said, we should be marrying our friends, our best friends, right? Yes. But come on now, the marriages and relationships these days, I think that one has gone through the window. Why do you think this is? Is it because people just so much want to be married, they don't really care to marry their best friends anymore? Or what? Or is it that they married their best friend and then that best friend now becomes their worst enemy? What is going on there? Amaka, let me come to you with that. Why are people no longer, because everybody say, I want to marry my friend. I want us to marry. But when, I don't know, please.
I know.
Sorry, Amaka. People's interpretation of friendship is different. I'm telling you, if you interview Osinachi's husband, he will say that I'm her best friend. Whatever you think that he was doing, he was giving this woman the impression like, I'm going to sell you out. I'm going to give you, even in fact, the way he was giving her prizes, she would think that, oh, my husband is fighting my corner. You know, for her, that's a friend. So it's a picture of friendship. So we said, marry your friend. Okay, I'm married to my friend. He likes me. He wants my best for me. That's who I see as my friend. You know, so it's not just married friends. You're understanding that your friend doesn't mean because he's your friend. If anybody raises up their hand to hit you, you know, you can actually be my friend, but that doesn't mean, you know what I mean. So let me know. I'm sorry, Amaka. Let me let you.
That's all right. That's right. Yeah. So a friend, what is a friend? A friend is somebody that, you know, your companion, right? Somebody that makes your life better and not bitter. Okay. So a friend is somebody that helps you and doesn't hinder your greatness, right? So for her, it's not even a question of marrying her friend or not marrying her friend. It's a question of once you find out that what you thought is no longer what
It is.
it is, right? You just have to make a decision about, with your children in mind, okay? And so her pastors are her spiritual parents. And I still have a problem with those people that she told, including people in church. Why didn't they go to her spiritual covering? They're her covering, they're her parents. Why didn't they say something? Why didn't they say something? Because at the end of the day, let it be that the pastors tried to help and then she didn't accept the help, right? Rather than saying, oh, she should have said something, because of people that I know that have been in that situation, the pastor could have tried to help. They could have tried to get her out of the house, empowered her and all that, and then she will still go back to this person.
And did the man not attend the same church? So maybe the pastor...
He attended the same church, and he's a pastor in the church.
Yeah.
And that's to show you that the devil masquerades as an angel of light.
Yeah.
Yeah, he attended the same church. So, I mean, and then about marry your friend. I think
that's what marry their friends protecting the man more, because the man was, sorry to cut it short, I think that was why she was protecting the man more.
Yeah,
because the man attended the same church. So if I actually go and reveal what is also, it's not just me taking this, it's that protection, protecting somebody.
Those people should have raised an alarm.
And
then with regards to people no longer marrying their friends, I think it's just a case of, rushing into marriage, especially with Instagram influencers, people like that Blessing girl, Nkechi girl. I don't know much about her. Even when I see her stories, I don't really read it that much. I just want to know the end of it, like the long and short of it. But from what I gather, I think she's one of those people that want to have husbands for influencing purpose. So people rush into these marriages, okay, because they want to have someone, they want to have like endorsements. Certain endorsements they give to people that are married, because they give it to like husband and wives. So at the end of the day, it's like it's about going into marriage with the wrong motive. So that's why people don't wait to marry their friends. And besides, when you meet someone, you guys are supposed to like align in so many places. Like, you align in the same beliefs, you have the same core beliefs. Because that friendship and the core belief is what's going to sustain that marriage, apart from the fact that, in cases where domestic violence comes in.
Do you guys not also think that the availability of women these days kind of waters that down? Because a man might say, who has time to be forming friendship with you? I just want to marry and move on to the next. Let me just have that title that I'm a married man.
Yeah, but it's a matter, but the women are to blame because they're settling for less.
Yeah.
Settling for less is a choice. Yeah.
Sometimes environmental influences, financial difficulty, a lot of things are making these women settle for less, because and then some people as well, they just get to a stage they feel like, okay, it took me so long to find this person. And if I actually say no to this person, how long? I'm afraid of being alone. I'm afraid of not eventually finding somebody. It just have to do with, that's why I said, we need to actually, what we can do now, we might not be able to change what's already in place now, but we can actually, try and impact the younger generation. Start from your home, start from your friends, start from any female, even male, and start giving them the knowledge that.
And don't ignore red flags.
I say this, and I say cautiously, it's okay to be alone. It is very okay to be alone. There's a difference between marriage and wedding. Some people want wedding. I want to be, there's a difference. I want to be married and I want to stay married. So that's why some people get it royally wrong. The rush to be wedded, not married. So, and that's why you take rubbish, something you will not take on a normal day. Like, how can I be funding your lifestyle and you're still beating me? And the one that is going out there to sing, to bring the money in, without my existence, without my talent, without me, you do not exist. How on earth do you now think you've got power over me? All I have to do is just shut down and say I'm not singing, and we don't eat. Do you see how powerful I am?
Yuri, do you think it's easier said than done? I completely agree with you. I know it's very difficult, but I still agree.
It's a mindset, Celia.
In as much as when you say it's okay to be alone.
It's a mindset.
People that have found themselves in a situation where they are alone, they kind of cannot handle it. Hence the reason why they rush into situations like
I get you.
Settling for the
remember, I'm not married yet.
Amaka, let me just
And-
answer
yeah.
this, and then I'll let you answer. It's a mindset. See, the strength to learn to be and play by yourself don't just start today.
Yes.
It's how you're raised.
Yes.
Like, it might come as if I'm obnoxious. I never see anybody more beautiful than me. You are beautiful in your own way, and I'm beautiful in my own way. And that's the way my father and my mother raised me. I walked into a room and I am confident. And that's because that is the way I've been raised. So I'm not saying people are raised in the wrong way. Please don't get me wrong. So that's why sometimes when people say, oh, someone is fighting with them and they don't speak to them, me myself, I don't speak to myself in a long time. So it doesn't bother me. You know what I'm saying? It's myself very trivial. And that's why I'm raising my daughter. It's okay to be alone. You can't be everybody's cup of tea. And I understand as human nature, we want friendship. We desire love. We desire companion. We desire what we feel will make us good. There are other things that you can channel your habit. Marry. Look, I can be in a relationship with you. I don't have to marry you. That's why sometimes, I know I'm a Christian. I'm supposed to be saying bed on the fire. I'm supposed to be saying marriage is the ultimate.
Yeah.
Marriage is not the ultimate. What this story with Minister Osinachi has told us is that now the church has experienced, how would I say, a revival.
Yes.
Because we see ministers
Definitely.
now coming.
Yeah.
Adejumo. Nike.
A lot of them.
A lot of people have now come out and be like, look, there's a woman that was like, it was just when this whole thing began to unravel that I've never seen her minister before. And I'll send it to you ladies. Like, that was the first time I've seen her minister. I've never met this woman before. I don't even know her church. I'll look for her and say, and she said something. She said, men, you are a God in your own way. A woman is a God in her own way. How your wife, how your daughter or your son or your family sees God is through you. So if you want your family to see God as a bad person, as a bad spiritual being, as a bad God, is how you display. If you beat them, you are showing them that God is bad. Do you get what I'm saying? So I'm happy that the revival, like we're having a program in my church tomorrow, and it's centered around marriages. And I can imagine what they're going to be talking about tomorrow night, that if your husband is beating you,
come out.
It's
high time, honestly.
Definitely.
It's high time pastors started making that altar. But if you know your husband or your wife is beating you, step onto this altar.
Celia, guess what? Right? In the church where I attend, domestic violence, we have zero tolerance, and it's been spoken of in so many sermons. And then even when this thing happened, right, Pastor Paul, and then pastor, he released old and recent videos where he was talking about domestic violence. So it's not as if she didn't know that domestic violence, there was a zero tolerance.
Amaka, when I listened to that his preaching or that his sermon, right, it was quite confusing because he said God, the church does not condone divorce. Right, and then he said, if you know you cannot love another man's daughter, return her to their father. So I was a bit confused, and I said, at what point are you talking about the return? I really don't know. Maybe you.
No, he said that the church has zero tolerance for domestic violence. That's what he said. So he said they have zero tolerance for violence, and if you know that you're going to be abusing someone's daughter, then you return the person.
Okay, but at the same time, when he's saying that, the church, he also said that divorce is not of God. He also said that, right? Because I heard it. He said it. So I'm asking, and he says, if you are not in love, if you don't love her, return her instead of beating her. So I'm saying, okay, so how does he expect the woman to process this? A woman who is in a domestic violence situation and wants to leave, but then the pastor has said divorce is not of God. So what can she do then?
At the end of the day, your pastor is not God. That is one thing I know, right? So you that's why relationship with God is very important and not religion. Relationship is so important, because when you're in a situation like that, you would ask God for help. And there's no way you're going to ask God for help sincerely.
And the thing about it is not
without him giving you the solution. For her, the solution was to leave that marriage. The man was not going to change.
It's not about just asking. It's about receiving.
That's what I'm saying, yes.
Do you understand?
To receive it as well.
Receive it and act on it.
Yes.
Receive and act. Move.
So it's not just about what the pastor is saying. It's about what you have resolved to do yourself.
But you know what I'm going to say? We all talk about this churches, talk about pastors and all that. If they put the amount of energy they put in raising offering, tithe and offerings, first fruit, if they put all the same energy into, with the rate of domestic violence in Nigeria, both from men and women, if churches can, because at the end of the day, you know, it looks like that's the only thing that's really functioning in Nigeria right now properly. You know, you cannot trust the government enough to put those structures in place. You know, if the churches say, oh, you know what, I've never seen any, the only pastor, the only preacher I hear about like submissiveness is everywhere. I've never seen any church to say, you know what, there's this structure already in place. We have it, we have a shelter. We have food, like we're taking offering and we're sending money to that shelter for women that are struggling or they have domestic violence, that they can run to church. You know, I've never seen anyone.
You know, you know when you say there's no structure in place. So churches, you know, the structure, like the process for when there's domestic violence is that when you report to the church, right, they ask you to separate. They cannot ask you to separate without giving you a way out, without giving you that support that you need. The problem is that some of them, they give the support and they still go back.
Look, what kind of support? What kind of support? Because I think what the sister is trying to say, with all these pastors building different churches up and down the whole place and using it to collect money, how about you raise a building fund and build a place where the people that are fleeing domestic violence can go? So that when you are trying to give them support, you're giving practical support, not telling them to go and live with one family member of a church as well.
That's in Nigeria, because here we have that support.
If a woman lives an abusive marriage, you know, like here, they will tell you that 60% of these women, they tend to go back. That's why the moment you announce that you have an abusive, they offer you, they quickly assign you a social worker. They will come and visit you from time to time. They will explain, they will ask you the kind of support that is psychological, that is emotional support that you get. In fact, they will tell you the things that you desire. The way they finish talking to you, you kind of ask yourself like, wow, okay, so this person, they even identify some abuse that you didn't even know you were going through, you know, and they talk to you and they will make you understand that you will feel the urge to go back. A lot of time people feel the urge to go back because you say, because that's the security that you think that you have for a long time. And that security goes away. The things that goes after it, I'm telling you, you have
I think the thing about
you have panic attack, you know. I'm sorry, I just didn't want to mention this. I'm talking from a personal experience. Panic attack, like when a car drives past, my heart goes like, I'm not scared that somebody's coming to beat me. I'm just scared like because everything that I thought I had now, my life is now a mirage. I cannot even, it's like I'm waking up from a bad dream. You are not even, you don't even know the reality. You don't know what tomorrow is going to hold for you. You're just like, everybody's telling you what to do. You are nodding your head like a zombie. That's the state that you are in. So you need other support. You need constant visitation, you know, counseling for your children, money that you're not lacking, because every little thing that you lack is going to be magnified. If you wake up in the morning and you are looking for £5, your mind says, you see, that you see your life. You that used to swim in money, you don't even have £5. And then you start thinking, it's like domino effect. The moment one thing triggers, everything goes, and you are back again into the hole. Everything makes you go back into that depressive mode. It's a long-term thing. They need support that continuously help this person, that make sure that you are protecting this woman. The woman is not going back, because that tendency of the woman going back is quite high, and it's not their fault. We need to judge less. We need to practically hold them, because this is somebody that have endured abuse for a long time. It's not going to take just 1 day or 2 days or 1 year to snap her out of that life, and then she's jumping around like, oh yeah, I'm happy I left her abuse. And let me tell you something, anybody that's listening to this today, I'm going to say one thing from my own point of view and from my personal experience. It is difficult. A lot of times you regret doing it. It's not easy out there. It's hard. You will even leave an abusive man, and you think you find love, and you get destroyed again, over and over again. And you can't ask yourself, like, I could have just stayed with an enemy that I know. You know, but one thing is that you can always count on the power, your self-will from from your core, that I will tell you that, well done, my daughter. Even if people don't recognize that, you just always give yourself that affirmation. You write anywhere, get up in the morning, write, I can do all things through Christ that has strengthened me. Those are things I was using. I write everywhere. I was getting affirmation for my mirrors and everything, because you can't even look at yourself in the mirror some days. You look at yourself, it feels like your body has put you in a life that has destroyed you. You don't even like yourself, for choosing this marriage. So it's a whole big issue, and we need structure. We need men to stand up to say, you know what, how many of these men have gone to social media to actually put it on a platform? We have husband, we have boyfriend, we have friends, we have brothers. Let them speak out. Let them talk to their friend. If you have a friend out and you're in the beer parlor drinking, and your friend say, don't worry, not my wife, I'll deal with her. Pick it up. I said, no, don't speak about your wife like that. Let everybody be advocate of this. It's wrong, it's wrong. Whatever it is that we can do, please, for our brothers, sisters, men out there, we need men to stand up more and speak against domestic violence.
Yeah.
You know, because we're just talking about it. Some men like, I don't mind women. There's some people still don't believe it. They think that maybe we're exaggerating it or any something because your mouth is sharp. Because don't make the man beat you up. But that's not it. It's way more than that. You might not even be able to speak and they'll still beat you anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that very point, but I think the landscape is changing. I think it's changing. At least with this case now, people are speaking out more. And I'm hoping the way that, and I think because the reason we're drilling down on religion is because obviously this kind of tallies with the Christians, because obviously Minister Osinachi is big and in Christian environment. Ministers are speaking more. And I'm sure there will be programs that they will now target to put shelters in place. We're lucky that we live in the United Kingdom where facilities are in place for women like this that they can easily escape to. Like once you are leaving, you can't even take your phone number so that nobody can track you.
Yeah.
But in Nigeria, there are no jobs, there are no support, there's no shelter, nothing. But I'm thinking with this, I wouldn't say political landscape, but the landscape. This is the first time that I would think as a country we are singing off the same hymn sheets. This has never happened.
Because a big person, you know, a popular person.
So it hurts me that she had to die for us to be talking about it. On this show, we've talked about it, and we'll continue to talk about it. Because if there's anything we are, is advocate for both men and women experiencing DV. It has a cascading effect, right from the person being abused to the person that is, to the children within that vicinity. An abused person, an abuser can also be someone that abuses someone. A victim can be an abuser.
And just before we round up, I just like you took the word out of my mouth, because I was gonna say, it's just like when that Black Lives Matter issue started and people were like, you know what, when that guy was on the floor and the police knee was on his neck and he was calling for his mother, it wasn't his Black mother. He called for all mothers, white, Black, yellow, green, blue. He called all mothers, and all mothers answered that call. You saw white people on the street, Chinese, Asians, all sorts. Everybody was on the street saying Black Lives Matter, right? So now, I think women, we have spoken and we have spoken, but it's almost as if what we say falls on deaf ears, because there's always someone out there that will say, what do you do? There's always someone out there that will say, hey, but what did you do? If you see me, it's something that causes something. You did not just sit down on your own and the man just started beating you. What did you do that resulted in him beating you? But the question they should always also ask themselves is, if they had a child that was married, would they be happy for the child's husband to beat their child to stupor the way they will beat their own wives? That's the question they should ask, right? And I don't think any parents will be happy for their children to go through domestic violence. So we are calling on the men. And as Sosa rightly said, we cannot fight this fight ourselves anymore. We have been fighting this fight and things like this are still happening. You cannot tell me that Minister Osinachi's husband did not have a friend that knew, a male friend that knew what he was doing to his wife. What did those friends, what did they say to him? Did they ever tell him to stop? Did they try to defend this woman? Because if he made all her family, if he removed all her family from her, who else did she have?
Nobody.
So sometimes, men, it's not just about going out partying, going to drink and playing football with your friends and all of that. No, you guys also have to open your eyes. If your friend starts talking about their wives in a derogatory way, in a manner that shows lack of respect for her, you should know that should be a trigger. That should be a red light for you to know that something is happening in that home that shouldn't be happening. That is the trigger for you guys to know that this man, the way he's talking about his wife, I know I cannot talk about my wife like that. So which means this man must be beating the wife or must be abusing the wife somehow. Because again, as we know, especially in the UK, people don't do physical abuse anymore because it's obvious. Because there is you will see the evidence. So they now do emotional, psychological, financial,
Sexual.
Yeah. Do you understand? So we men out there, they need to be more vigilant. Please, we are calling and we are begging. We cannot do this by ourselves anymore. A lot of women, your sisters, your daughters might be victims of DV tomorrow. So the man, so that's your friend that's beating his wife and you did not correct, because your friend's son or your friend's daughter is going to see what the father is doing and repeat it when they enter their own marriage. Because women too are perpetrators of domestic violence. So don't think, oh, I don't have any daughters. No, your daughter can also be a perpetrator as well as a victim. And so can your son. Your son can also be a victim of domestic violence. Right? So we're asking the men, when you see your friend doing things like that, saying nonsense about their wife, call them out on it.
Be accountable.
Hold them accountable. Call them out on it and say, bro, no, that thing is not going to wash near me. Not talk to you. Because women go through a lot already. Just giving birth only. You are 50%. Possibility of dying is 50-50. Tell me what puts men in that kind of what's it called? In that kind of radius or whatever it's called. There's nothing that the man has to do biologically that gives them 50% chance of dying. But the woman has to go through that. For that reason alone, we deserve respect. If you do not want, package the woman and her things. Take her to her father's house and say, please, I'm begging you, I don't want, because I don't want to do something that I will regret. I don't think any father will come and beg you to bring their daughter back. So we just need to be accountable. We will continue to talk about domestic violence. God forbid, if this thing happens again in another year, we will come back again and trash it, because we will continue to talk about it until it ends. Because it's a shame, because as we all agree, this woman's death has now sort of created like an international awareness. Let me put it that way. Because look at the girl that ended her marriage to beef and just said, no, I'm not going to put up with this bullshit. A lot of women out there that are about to get into marriages, the man has beaten you, and you are still saying, I've already cooked it.
Get out
ASAP. Stop that marriage. Forget about caterer. Because the beating you will receive, that.
And when you die,
for me, it's about people that are not yet married. Don't ignore the red flags, because it's going to amplify in marriage. Don't ignore the red flag.
And I said something earlier, and I said most women don't leave the relationship because the man cheats. But again, let's analyze that one, because you will find that the first red flag when you come into a marriage that there's about to be domestic violence in this marriage is when the man starts cheating.
Thank you.
Because when the man starts cheating, he sees you as, who are you?
They have the tendency to beat when you ask them about it.
Thank you. They have the so one day when you ask them about it, they will beat you. Or when you mistakenly see a message on their phone, they will beat you and now blame you for looking into the phone.
Celia, I know you're trying to close, but you see these things still, like I said, it goes to the genesis of how we see a male child and a female child. We raise our girls to be married and don't raise our boys. So, and that way, that sense of entitlement, it is me, I am Lord of the Rings, I can go and come, I don't owe you anything. Even with education, we've seen instances where girl children are left behind and they say, okay, maybe you are going to go to someone's house. They feel that a girl's life is around marriage. That sums you up.
That's wrong. For me, sorry, Celia, for me, once you flee domestic violence, don't go back. Do you guys remember the story of that girl? I think at the start of the pandemic in Nigeria, she was married to this guy. They had children, like 2 or 3 children, and then they separated. And then he lured her to get to his house. Do you remember? Tied her to a chair and then stabbed her.
And use plier to remove
And
her
use
nails
plier
and
to,
hair.
yes,
Didn't
yes.
touch that
And they were separated. She went back to him.
Yeah,
So that's a lesson to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Once you flee domestic violence,
Don't
for
go
me, that's it. That's it. Don't even go back, because it's not going to end well.
Yeah. Because somebody that was green and you left because the person is green.
Yes.
You're gonna come back and it's gonna be dark green. There's no
Yes.
thing that's gonna change that color.
Yes.
You know, and the other thing, let me just quickly say this. As women, you know, if we're already, unfortunately, I know a lot of people, whoever is going to see this video, if you're already in there, you know, empower yourself financially is really, really important. £1, £2, if you're in London, if you're in UK, if you have a job, some of them, they will say don't work, because they know that when you work, you know, a lot of women are here, their husbands gives them money by the end of the month. You know, any opportunity to get £1, £2, first of all, you begin to be strategic in whatever you're doing.
They'll say they're saving on childcare.
There was a lady that was even saying that the husband was sick, and the husband went to the hospital. This is a very close person, and she was praying that the husband doesn't return alive so that she can sleep.
Can you imagine?
I'm telling you,
why not just leave?
Open a Monzo account.
Yes, because don't empower yourself. Be very strategic, whatever you are doing, because this thing that you are doing is going to be a whole new world that you're going to. You have to start thinking about, what am I going to do first? If it's £1, £2, even if I'm fixing hair, no, you have other projects that you are doing, you know, and start getting ready so that when the time comes, no matter the support that you have, you still know in your pocket that, oh, I actually did this. And trust me, there is no satisfaction that can ever come when you eventually see that you have done this. Even if you are suffering, you don't have a good mind anymore, and you don't have money like you used to have. But the fact that you can go to bed and say, I chose myself, is the most important thing. Your children will be so proud, and everybody will be so proud. Please again, leave. There is no alternative, there's no other choice, there's no other option. Again, just leave.
Yeah, because again, you have to, you also have to look at the children and consider the children. They're seeing all these things that are happening to you, the man beating you, abusing you, insulting you, calling you names, dehumanizing you, basically. How do you think it's going to make them feel? If you have a daughter, she's going to start thinking, okay, this is a norm. And if her husband starts to do that to her, or her boyfriend starts to do that, she's going to say, okay, well, this happened to my mom and she stayed. Yeah. So when you leave, you are not just leaving for yourself. You are leaving because of your children, because you're trying to say to them, what daddy is doing is not acceptable. Okay, that is the message you're passing across to your children as well, so that when they get into their own relationship, they will realize that, no, my mom didn't stand for this, I'm not going to stand for it. But anyway, and as you said already, you know, DV also goes both ways. Men also are victims of domestic violence. It's just that the women one is more prominent out there, and more percentage of women go through domestic violence than men, you know. And I've seen a lot of videos where the man is just beating the woman. There was one, the woman she's a Muslim, and her husband was beating her.
I saw that one, yeah.
The man would pull her out again and use it was koboko. And I was like, who the hell do you think? It was as if
it wasn't real.
Yeah. Do you understand? I was like, who the hell do you think you are to beat somebody's wife, somebody's child like this? I swear to God, yeah.
And you know what? Those men, they have the tendency of beating their children too. Like this Osinachi, he was beating the children.
Yeah, and because
they will now see it as normal.
Yeah, because I was like, why would the children now agree to actually beat their mom? And somebody, I can't remember who it was, well, because he said, if you don't do it, I'll beat you.
I'll beat you.
So the children did. It's a sad situation. I pray her soul continue to rest in peace.
Amen.
And I just pray, I mean, that quiet person she told, I wonder how that person is feeling right now, because she probably will be feeling she could have stopped this whole thing. But again, you know, it is what it is. And I'm sorry if I have a friend who's going through DV and you tell me, I'm not keeping my mouth shut.
Don't tell me, because I won't.
Because their life is in danger.
I'm not going to keep my mouth shut because your life is in danger.
Yes.
You understand? So at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we are our brother's keeper. And again, I'm going to go back to the men. You need to help us. You need to help us, because in a way, your lives are in our hands. Let me just put it that way. It is, because we are the one that cook your food. Yeah, we cook your food. Let me leave it there. Just go and reason what I mean by that. We do.
Whoever you marry, their life, your life is in their hands.
In their hands. So all these women that are going through,
they can do and undo,
and enduring it. It's not that they don't know what they can do to end the whole thing. They know. But it's just that, because they love and they believe that the person will change, they don't want to do it. So please, men, you need to help us, because your sisters can be victims of this tomorrow. So again, if you're in a relationship, domestic violence relationship, as the sister said, just start saving up and find a way to live, because most of the problem with women leaving is because financial problem. They're thinking, where am I going to get money, right? But again, start saving. And please do not be solely financially dependent on your husband, because this is another way they use and manipulate you. You become financially dependent on them. You cannot even go and buy sanitary towel without asking your husband for money. So please have your own money. Try and do something for yourself. You have that power inside of you. You just don't know it yet. Yeah. On that note, we're going to end it here. May the soul of Minister Osinachi Wanchuku rest in peace. And I hope that her husband is dealt the full hands of the law. Is it not death? Is it not death in Nigeria? Is it not death sentence?
Let's just be praying that he gets what is his.
Life sentence.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that life sentence is a bit lenient, because it really should be a life for a life.
Yeah, life for a life.
No, Nigeria, life is life, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be life for a life. You should not be any sentence.
Squad.
Yes, let them do that.
Yeah, let's wait for the autopsy and everything's gone out. I think that by the time all those processes are done, then the hands of the law will gonna meet him.
I hope so. And my heart goes out to the children as well. They've gone through a lot. Those children are damaged right now because they've also inflicted pain on their mother. Hey God,
and their grandma.
Do you understand? How can you, thinking that you have also contributed indirectly to something that has caused the death of your mom? Those children are completely...
God will help them. I'm sure God has a plan for them.
I pray God will help them. I pray God will just erase everything.
Yeah, because they are innocent of it.
So anyway, on that note, we're going to end it. Thank you so much for joining us. This topic has gone way over an hour. Thank you so much for joining us. And please leave the relationship. It's not worth it. And for those people that haven't entered the relationship already, please hear it from us in this trash it today, because it's us that also say it's good to be married, but it's also us now that are not saying you don't have to be married. Please don't be married. We only say it is good to be married if you're in the right relationship and you're with the right person.
Yes.
But if you are not with the right person, you will know that you are not with the right person. Do not let that ring fool you. No matter how big the diamond is, give it back or live with it, but don't go into that marriage if you are not already married. Because when you're already married, it starts becoming a bit difficult to live and you have to strategize and plan. But when you are not already married and you start seeing this sign, your boyfriend is beating you, please leave. It's not by force. Leave and buy yourself a vibrator. Please. Okay? Please, honestly, please leave. You don't do or die affair. When the boy starts beating you, you are not even married to him. Leave, because you're on there, you have no excuse. Leave. Anyway, on that note, we're going to end it. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next week, same time.
Thank you. Bye.